Okay, so we alluded to it. You and Felix are both Chicago guys.
Yeah, baby. The Windy City, deep dish.
Well, so I wanted to take this opportunity to return to an old friend, a fan favorite, and a guy I think we've actually only really highlighted, despite being a large part of all of our brains for quite some time now. I think we've only ever highlighted him once, and it was when we were in Chicago at the House of Blues. And I, of course, am referring to Chicago's finest opinion columnist, Tribune columnist John Kass. And I've got a wonderful John Kass op-ed for you today. And I chose this one because John Kass, they're hard to do for a reading series because they're so predictable usually in that they're just he's venting his spleen at the woke warriors, or that the mayor isn't putting homeless people in camps, or his big thing now is George Soros, which is you can sort of see where that's going, and he's getting some stick for that. But the column that I read at our live show in Chicago was that's the real beating heart of John Kass, what makes him interesting and like a real alpha is the sort of the sadness that he expresses about his own life. It's just sort of the portrayal of just sort of one man's depression and kind of feeling of loss and remorse. Not I wouldn't say remorse, but it's just there's something very sort of poignant about him. I think the one I read was about him just doing a barbecue and feeling sad because his kids don't talk to him or something like that.
No, it was that he couldn't have sausage because his doctors were like, John, you can't have sausage for every meal. And it was his family trying to get him to eat raspberries or some shit. He's the most Alexander Payne-like of all columnists. Except
yes, that's
for,
a very good.
David
That's
Brooks.
a very good. Yeah.
He's I guess if you're doing this thing where it's oh, we need to deplatform people, he would be up there because he's very racist and awful. But it's also I don't know, he speaks to a type of Chicago guy where it's oh yeah, in 1974 I had this opportunity to invest in some land that later became something around Damon. I could have made millions of dollars, but instead I spent it on a failed go-kart investment that I'm still paying the debt servicing on. My kid went to mime school and he doesn't talk to me. The doctor says I can't eat sausage literally for the rest of my life. Just a baseline of sorrow.
Yes.
And a feeling you've lost it all.
Yes, it's a
He's
feeling.
also he's like if you did Multiplicity with Mike Royko, he's the fourth one.
No, Felix, that's what I was looking to capture. It's it's his expression of sorrow and loss that comes across, and I think the reading series, the ones that I like the best are the ones in which the person gives you a glimpse into their life that betrays so much about you're oh, I get it now. That explains why all of their other opinions are so fucking wretched and they seem like such evil, miserable people. So here is John. This is John Kass's. This is a column, a very recent one from just this past week. The column is titled "Taking Zeus the Wonder Dog for a Walk in Chicago to Avoid Politics." So he's telling you, this is not a political column. This is a John Kass slice of life column, and it begins here. A nice frenemy I want to call Karen, though her real name is Janet, is of the left and hates my take on politics.
John Kass is snapping on white women. John Kass is done with Karens. This just fucking ham-faced 70-year-old Greek man is just I'm done with white women, y'all.
He says, though Karen Janet lives in a woke world, she isn't completely irrational. She does love my Kass onion soup. And I guess
I'm sure it's
first
great,
of all,
man. I'm sure your fucking sorrowful soup that you just miserably eat on a July day, just sweating more than normally.
This column was written in August. I'm just imagine eating onion soup in the middle of August in Chicago.
I would love to just sit on John Kass's creaky back porch eating soup in pure silence, and it's only cut every 10 minutes when he's the rappers are getting more bold nowadays. And you're yeah, John, whatever.
I don't know, man. When it's 102 degrees with 100% humidity, I love a nice hot bowl of onion soup.
But also, it's this is a person who's okay, this Karen, he doesn't really define like the extent of their relationship. He knows her well enough to know her politics and to know that that she doesn't like him. But like, under what circumstances he offered her French onion soup, the Cass onion soup? Sorry,
it's his mistress.
yeah.
She's a 23-year-old DePaul student. She's smoking hot. She couldn't resist John just eating a sausage with his bare hands, holding it like a spear, and just calling the police because he heard Old Town Road.
Well, I have to assume, like every opinion columnist who writes about a person, she does not exist.
Oh yeah, no, I think
like
you're right.
Every opinion columnist is like, I had an interesting, David Brooks. I had an interesting, a handsome cab driver the other day who said something that really opened my eye. Like it's all bullshit. It's just they're sitting by themselves at their computer thinking about what are some scenarios where I could kind of look good.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Like it was another John Kass day where he just spent 7 hours moving in between the living room and his office. And like, if he saw anyone in between during that journey, he'd be like, Lori Lightfoot's going to make Antifa Cook County Commissioner. And they would just go, oh, that's good, John.
See, no,
and he was like, oh, what if I was talking to somebody?
I agree with you. Like the opinion columnist thing in these scenarios that they talk about is they are imagining a scenario that didn't happen, that in which they will look good or insightful or a bus driver told me that I had my head on straight or whatever. But like what I like about Cass is that he invents scenarios in which he only looks bad and awful.
Yeah.
So he goes on and he writes here, she might consider me intelligent, perhaps even virtuous, if I ignore politics and stick to her approved topics, like those outstandingly delicious peaches of Calhoun County. And then in parentheses, as a diabetic, I can't eat them anymore. Or gardening. I don't have a garden anymore.
Holy shit.
Wife took the garden. Wife took my ability to process sugar.
This is like, you know how American conservatism is different from European conservatism because it's psychotically optimistic, and European conservatism is like all is lost. Like Europa is lost. The jungle begins at Calais. We can only stand against the immigrant hordes, but our way of life is over. My grandchildren won't even recognize the life I lived. Like, it's marked by this dour pessimism. John Kass is probably the only American conservative who's like that. He's Peter Hitchens.
No, yeah, but this, but because he's from Chicago and not England, it's like the sausage eating column. It's like all of his writing is about just every last ounce of joy being drained out of his life, like a cyst or something. And he's bringing it up. I wish he could talk. I love her outstanding peaches. Can't eat them anymore or I'll die. Yeah, I would love to grow them in my own garden. Don't have a garden anymore.
No garden.
All right, so going on here, he goes, happily, Karen Janet will allow me to write about walking Zeus the Wonder Dog and my anguish about where to deposit the presents he leaves when we're far from home. So I got ready to leave the Chicago 3-flat we live in now to take Zeus for a walk in the city of my birth and worry about how to properly allocate his resources later. Don't forget the blue plastic bags, Betty said. If you don't pick it up, the rats will come.
He doesn't know how to pick up dog shit. He doesn't know how to pick up dog shit.
That line here, if you don't pick it up, the rats will come. That's out of Cormac McCarthy. That sounds like a Cormac McCarthy novel. And just it's very short sentence. This very harshly punctuated vision of just doom.
It's the last thing Charlize said to Vigo in The Road.
This is
the rats are coming, John.
Yeah, he deserves an award. Not for the reasons he thinks, but he does. With Cass, it's just being alone all day and being like, oh, what if I met a fucking Woman's March bitch? She's it's just dated and sad and lonely. I don't get the sense that he talks to anyone.
No, whenever he's walking and he sees teenagers approaching, he prepares to be a victim of the knockout game.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a life of boredom and terror. Yeah. And not being able to eat sausage anymore.
So his wife says, if you don't pick it up, the rats will come. Realizing what she'd just done, my wife turned to our sons. I shouldn't have said that. Now he's going to use that one. Yeah, said one son. He's going to use that one. The other was eating bacon and was too polite to speak with his mouth full. This is just like, what's just this scene he's creating here is just so bleak. He goes, yes, I'm using
my humongous sons were just glumly agreeing what a boring terror I am in the household, and the other was eating the bacon I cannot eat.
And then it gets worse. He goes, yes, I'm using that quote. Why? Because Betty gives me no comment on too many subjects, and I'm a journalist. He's talking about his wife. And he goes, when we move back into the city from the suburbs, I promised this would be our time of romance and adventure. We'd rediscover our city together, find weird neighborhood shops, tiny storefront ethnic restaurants, have more than a few drinks at various taverns, and walk home at night. Yet within days came the government coronavirus shutdown. The restaurants died and the shops closed. The cops, exhausted after being shrieked at by politicians and protesters, went into summer hibernation. We couldn't use the lakefront. We watched the protests and looting on TV. We followed lootings on the neighborhood police scanner. As a type 1 diabetic, I had to isolate. Everything was politics and more politics.
This motherfucker moved back here to Chicago and like 2 days later, Corona hit.
Yes.
Now he's trapped in a tiny apartment. He's like, fuck, I should be back in Palatine. I had a fucking garage.
He is like, his fucking great-grandfather wronged some Albanian wizard, and now the bloodline is cursed. What a nightmare. What a fucking nightmare life.
It's just like, his humongous son's just silently mouthing bacon while he like stares daggers at his wife that he's going to like slag off in a fucking column. And then he's just like, I thought this was going to be our time of romance and adventure.
Oh my God.
I can no longer leave.
Just a cursed mark on his bloodline forever.
He goes, but we did see a spectacular non-political sight in March on a cold, frozen morning. A tiny tree stood in an alley about 4 feet high, its bare branches festooned with blue ornaments. People had tied their little blue dog bags to the branches. They hung, weighted in the wind like so many broken promises. Is he describing seeing again like a freezing cold Chicago March morning? Like it's like a dead tree in an abandoned lot, which people have tied bags full of dog shit to, which he says
finally some good news.
Yeah, which hang like so many broken promises. And then he goes on to talk about his dog. If this wasn't depressing enough, he says here, poor Zeus is going gray quickly. He's not as lively as he once was. He still wants to chomp rabbits and squirrels. He still has the dreaded German short-hair pointered whine, but he's not used to feral cats. Zeus ambled down the sidewalk, looking for aldermanic political signs to decorate when he stopped abruptly and did his other business. He wore that embarrassed facial expression dogs use so you won't look at them. I didn't look. And like any responsible rat-hating citizen of Chicago, I used the plastic bag. When I leaned over to pick up his present, a weird thought came to me. I've got to register to vote in Chicago so some well-meaning political organization may harvest my ballot offering. Perhaps a nice precinct captain will fill out my ballot for me. Let's hope the harvesters used envelopes, not bags. We were about a half mile from home, so I looked behind me in case any Karen Janet was walking. I quickly dropped it into someone's garbage can in the alley. Some hate this, some don't care. Some think I should carry it all the way home. I almost called the City Department of Streets and Sanitations for a ruling, but the Chicago way dictates that you never ask for permission, only forgiveness. If I'm wrong on common poop law, draw me a note. I sat on a bench on a public street, lit a fine Maduro, and waited to be arrested for cigar crime. Just then, a cook.
This is 100% what you would find in like the journal of a mass murder. Like it's like completely, it's like psychopathic. It's just nothing. Sorry, go ahead, Bill.
Because just then, a Cook County judge called. He wanted to talk about my column, not the one about the vacuum of Joe Biden's eyes as he savors Banana Republic pudding, but the other one. The one about Mayor Lori Lightfoot losing the city while being hung out to dry on the crime wave by other Democrats, including J.B. Pritzker and Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle. I said, how you doing, Judge? This judge isn't one of, I mean, is this Judge Holden he's talking to?
We have suspended columnist John Kass for living in a different reality that started in 1989 when he opened a cursed trinket in a shop in Old Town.
I'm so sorry. What is Banana Republic pudding? What is that?
It's just,
I think he's doing like a turn of phrase.
That's his little flair.
He's
It's just he thought he's like, am I losing my readers discussing this cold baton death march with my dying dog picking up its shit as I stare emptily into like the fucking lake, wondering why I can't do anything and why there is no happiness left for me in life. Oh no, I'll just drop a little bummo like that. So he goes here. This judge isn't one of those social justice warrior judges who lets violent arrestees out on little or no bail and that idiotic electronic home monitoring program. This is a real judge. Out of favor with Chief Judge Tim Home Monitoring Evans, Cook County State Attorney Kim Don't Lock 'em Up Fox, and her political boss Preckwinkle, who still sees at losing the mayoral election to Lightfoot and clearly believes that revenge is a dish best served cold. Looking behind me for any Karen Janets, I confessed to the judge what I'd done with Zeus's blue poop bags. Was I on the right side of the law, dropping them in someone's garbage can in an alley, or was I an offender? You're within the bounds of the law, the judge said. The garbage cans are public property. You can put your dog poop in there, but be discreet about it. Don't make a big thing out of it. Some people can get upset. I don't want to upset anyone, not even Karen Janet. I just don't want to carry it home. That, John Kass, ladies and gentlemen, the rats are coming.
What are you supposed to take away from that?
The
Other
rat.
than like, yeah.
What you're supposed to take away from it is the rats are coming, and I don't know what to do, but I just don't want to carry this bag of dog shit home with me. I don't want to bring the dog shit into my house.
It's such a tenuous way to get into all. It's like, I want him, though, in every column now to start off by talking about a pet's like bodily problems. And then like, I was expressing my cat's asshole glands, and then I thought about J.B. Pritzker.
Yeah. I like the idea that his house is just like a zoo of dying animals. My snake shed its last skin. Anyway, so here's why the National Guard should shoot to kill in Cook County. Like, it's like, I don't know, like, if I was his editor, what would I tell him other than, like, you know, you could just go to, like, be euthanized in Denmark if you want. Like,
I want Werner Herzog. I want Werner Herzog to make a full documentary on.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, he's the only man with the depth to understand the pain and the sorrow.
God, what a fucking like. I'm gonna read him every week now. This is
yeah.
He doesn't know how artistic this is. Like, I have a feeling he doesn't know quite how depressing it is. But holy shit.
Yeah, that was I gotta call my shrink.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not just the British press flacking for the royals. There are a few Americans who have taken upon themselves to defend the royal family against Harry and Meghan's calumnies against them for being racist. And one of them is like an old time Chapo favorite. We haven't talked about him in a minute, but I think he's got a piece out today that warrants it. It's John Kass, everybody. It's Chicago's own. John Kass is back again to defend the royal family. Now, Adam, are you familiar with who John Kass is?
No.
Okay, Felix, if you had to describe John Kass to Adam, like how would you
John
sum him up?
Cassavetes.
Well, they're both artists. John Kass is a sort of like grimace-shaped Greek man from Chicago who
Don't trust them.
Yeah, he would be, if he stayed in Greece, he would have been a member of Golden Dawn. He writes like just absurdly racist articles, you know, how every police shooting is like basically justified and like you know, just typical like Chicago conservative stuff, very race obsessed, very, you know, poor people need to get some work ethic, even though I've just been eating sausage and writing articles for like 70 years. But his work has recently taken a turn because after a lifetime of stuffing his face with like butter-soaked lamb and merguez, he has contracted diabetes, and his his prose has taken on a sort of Cormac McCarthy state where every day is just horribly depressing. His columns are just him talking about his depressing days where he can't eat sausage anymore and has to eat berries. His awful wife dragging him to do things that he despises. His family teasing and belittling and emasculating him by keeping delicious fatty meats away from him due to his medical condition. And it just like, this is a man standing in front of the abyss, demanding death, and the abyss says nothing back. He's cursed to the hollowing of life. He cannot find meaning. And he has finally returned to politics, though, with this Harry and Meghan article.
Well, yeah. In case you're wondering what type of American would get emotionally invested in defending the royal family, I mean, Felix's summary of his character is a good indication of that type of person. So this is John Kass writing in the Chicago Tribune. The headline: "With Meghan as Princess of the Woke, we'll skip England for a while." So it begins like this, and it begins in pure classic John Kass style. "We've always wanted to visit England and sample the delicious savory pies, good rare English beef with horseradish." So that's
the reason you go to England is to get beef. That's the thing that's known for. There's no real history or anything you just got to get over there to eat that pastry crust and beef. Can't get that anywhere else.
So he wanted to go to England to sample the delicious savory pies, but in classic John Kass thing, he's like, he wanted to go, but now he can't. Like, another pleasure has been robbed from him, has been wrung out of his life by circumstances outside of his control. Yeah. So he says here, he wanted to sample the savory pies and delicious English wet beef with horseradish. But he says, most of all, I'd hope we'd immerse ourselves in the absolute wonders of the beautiful game that they call football and we call soccer. The way it's played in the greatest sports league in the world, the English Premier League. So think about how psycho this is. This is an American guy defending the royal family, and the British the English Premier League is the greatest sports league of all time. Adam, are you nodding in agreement? You're a fan of the beautiful game. You love the footy.
You know that Felix's Gooner bit hurts my feelings a lot.
I'm sorry. I got really sad when they got rid of Gunnersaurus, though.
I got sad too. They had to make some cuts because of the shocking economy and this bloody COVID.
Well, they brought him back though, right? Like, there was a huge outcry for Gunnersaurus.
When the fans come back, Gunnersaurus will return.
Okay, good.
But I think the man inside of Gunnersaurus, I'm afraid to say I don't know if he's gonna come.
Oh, well, I hope they get him back.
They're gonna have to put another bloody pervert inside of that dinosaur.
So again, he wanted to visit England to eat the meat pies and see the greatest sport in the world. But he says, but now I don't think it's such a good idea. It's this Meghan Markle business. So I like that he is removing the possibility of going on a vacation with his wife to a country they've always wanted to visit because he doesn't think it's safe now or something. Because
well, she's
Meghan
leaving
Markle
too.
She's in America. I mean, they've been living in California for the last 2 years.
Is this just like he's like, oh, I didn't think they had those there.
So he goes here, after Pope Oprah crowned Markle as the Princess of the Woke. I think Princess of the Woke is like him trying to do a pun on like Princess of Wales or something, but it really just, it doesn't.
Oh,
work.
that's clever.
Yeah, he has just like a handful of wet pebbles for a brain. He's also like incredibly stupid. He's a brick-headed man.
Oh, the Princess of Woke.
That's good.
Yeah, because the wokeists of Britain have gone bonkers. They're hell-bent on using Markle as their avatar to tear down the British monarchy that has connected the people to their past for some 1,200 years. Some see the monarchy as repressive and wasteful. Some see it as the vanishing thread binding a diverse nation. Some see it as a fairy tale sold to tourists. Throughout the Markle hysteria, I've been thinking of the proud 94-year-old woman, Queen Elizabeth II, trying to protect the monarchy, to hold on against the many idiocies committed by her family. I just love it. He's thinking of this poor 94-year-old woman. I mean, like that's what really matters here, folks. It's. Think about how sad she feels about all this. She's 94 years old. She's not going to be around for much longer, and by much longer, I mean at least another 20 years.
Yes.
I hate to bring this back to Trump, but we had a real friend to the monarchy in the White House that has been lost.
Yeah.
When he went over there on that visit to meet the Queen, He was so happy. Do you remember?
Yeah, and they hated him, but he just
They hated
didn't
him.
notice.
He was having so much fun. He looked like the Capitol right. He looked like the guy that put his feet up in Pelosi's desk. He looked like he was having the best day ever. He walked in front of her. He broke like a 4,000-year
protocol.
tradition. Yeah. He walked in front of the old woman. He looked like a pig in shit.
Yeah, it was great because it's like, that's the thing. Like, the royal family is as tacky, and they represent the same things he does. They're all
Can you
both
imagine
like
if he
tacky, shitty places.
If he was still around, the tweets against Meghan Markle about the calling her a dog
Yeah.
and stuff.
Like, it's saying that Harry should ask out Jessica Alba.
Yeah.
I saw Queen Elizabeth on her chair. I moved on her like a bitch.
That was
Was your-
awesome when people were like, look at the shade that Queen Elizabeth did to Donald Trump. And it's like, literally every man in her family is Donald Trump. Like,
Oh.
down to the Jeffrey Epstein connection. Like, they're the same
down,
thing.
down to being Nazis as well.
Yeah.
So it says here, as an American, I'm not a big fan of royalty, particularly our own American royals, the most powerful royals in the world. Grand Duke Jeff Bezos, Grand Duke Bill Gates, His Highness Sergey Brin, Grand Duke Jack Dorsey, and Grand Duke Mark Zuckerberg. I think he should have used some different royal titles instead of just saying Grand Duke over and over again to make a point that
Yeah.
like, tech billionaires are American royalty. It's
also, like,
very
what's
strained here
his-
by Cass.
Yeah. Cass has also like come out for like low taxes and deregulation his entire career. And he's just
Yeah.
now surprised that we have rich people. Or no, like the only like bad type of rich person, someone that can ban you.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes, they and others like them have the power to tell the rest of us of the world what to read, how to search, and best order thoughts, and how to properly express those thoughts. In the old days, a king like Longshanks might take your tongue or your head if you persisted in aggravating it. And if you've seen Braveheart, you know kings could take your bowels too. As soon as he said
Sick.
Longshanks, I knew he was going to come through with the Braveheart reference because like that's how he learns it. That's how he knows about history. He's like, and anyone who's seen that movie knows it's a historically documented fact that they'll rip out your intestines
Yeah.
and kill your gay son's lover
He
by throwing him out a window.
Yeah, he definitely thinks of himself as an intellectual, but like his only knowledge of history is just like things that he watched while he suffered from a UTI in his basement.
So he goes here, but our big tech royals don't bother about our bowels. They can take minds. And if that's not absolute power, what is? Yet, as a thoroughly modern American, I stubbornly cling to the ye old fiction that we may still speak our minds in our own country. Therefore, it follows that a visit to England now is out of the question. Who wants to end up on the stake burning next to British television host Piers Morgan? Not me. So Piers Morgan he's just gonna get another job on British TV. I don't get what the big fucking deal is. And like Piers Morgan is like one of the most repellent people alive. So obviously John Kass likes him and feels an affinity with him. So it says
He's
here
also a fellow gooner. Mind you.
he supports the
So
lab.
is Jeremy
supporter
Corbyn. It brings
of-
people together.
Yeah. Jezza is also a gooner. It's me. It's the three of us. We're the Mount Rushmore of gooners.
I agree with that.
So he goes
And
here,
Harry, too, mind you.
Morgan, a co-host of Good Morning Britain, made a terrible political mistake when discussing that Oprah interview with Markle and Prince Harry that I refused to watch. I was busy drinking Hendrix Martinis with habanero garlic olives while binge-watching Bosch. A man after my own heart. A man after my own heart. I just love that he feels the need to tell you that it's an interview I refused to watch. I was
too busy
time.
getting pussy.
That is being like 80 and bragging that you have open access to alcohol. Fucking awesome.
Oh man, wouldn't you love to like give him a smooch after eating all those habanero garlic olives though?
Yeah. I would love to lick his rim clean while watching Bosch.
He goes, to waste my brain cells watching Oprah. I mean, that's true. He doesn't have many left, so I suppose he doesn't want to use them, frivolously.
One of the dumbest men in Cook County.
He says, to waste my brain cells watching Oprah, a billionaire entertainer sitting in a beautiful villa interviewing multimillionaire royals about their feelings, just wasn't my cup of tea. You'd have to pry my eyes open with eyelid locks, as was done to Alex in A Clockwork Orange, to get me to watch. Sorry. He's coming correct with these references. His references are sick.
Yeah, these are very underground movies about England that he knows about.
That was a sick pull.
Yeah. What's your letterbox, John?
He goes, but I've been reading about it, and I learned that before meeting Prince Harry and marrying into the family business, i.e. the firm, and becoming Duchess of Sussex, Markle was a star on the TV show Suits. You'd have to use the lid locks for me to find that one, too. I'll stick with a proper martini. It's like, this is all confused. He's like, yeah, no USA television show for me. I'll be getting drunk. It's like he's comparing two different things here. He's like, you'd have to hold a gun to my head to get me to watch Suits. I'm too busy eating chips in my basement.
Yeah, it's like, I hate to say it, but if you're like mainlining Bosch, it's like, it's not too beneath you to watch Suits. Like, Suits is definitely like not.
He's like Bosch is, but my affection for Bosch is well established. But if you're saying that, like, I'm spending all my time watching intelligence shows like Bosch, and you're looking down your nose at character-driven dramas on the USA Network, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
The same thing. It's the same. You're enjoying the same thing. But I mean, he has to flex about getting drunk again. So I get it.
So he goes, in the Oprah interview, Markle told of alleged racism in the royal family. Markle is the daughter of a black mother and a white father. She said many things with feeling, but what was striking besides the allegations of racism was that she said she'd been driven to thoughts of suicide and the royal family didn't care. Suicide is no joke. If you've lost a friend or loved one, you know it's no joke. I just thought he needs to include that.
That's facts.
In case you were wondering, I'm not making fun of the idea of suicide. And I like he also says, if you've lost a loved one or a friend, it's like, dude, all of Cass's friends and family members end up topping themselves at one point after spending an evening having to like slurp habanero garlic martinis with his and watch Bosch as he farts into a lazy boy for 10 hours a day.
Yeah, just listening to him like bitch to you about how he used to eat these little fudge squares, but his family makes him eat frozen berries now. Just saying something unrepeatable about Colin Kaepernick. Just 7 hours of that. Watching the fat on his face slowly like advance over his eyes.
He goes, still, some did not find her claims believable. On his program the next day, Piers Morgan summed up her interview this way. I'm sorry, said Morgan. I don't believe a word she says. I wouldn't believe her if she read me the weather report. He got into an argument with a co-host, a weather forecaster named Alex Beresford, who said Morgan's behavior was diabolical. That's what you get for not believing weathercasters. Morgan walked off the set, but that wasn't his great sin. His great sin was not believing what Markle said during the Oprah interview. Markle became upset and reportedly called the network to complain. Morgan was told to apologize. He refused and lost his job. He's now busy recasting himself as a Churchillian figure. I mean, yeah, another drunk who wants to gas not white people. So sounds about right. What's frightening is that the entire sordid business of hurt feelings and outrage is being monitored by the proper UK authority, Ofcom, which regulates it all. If you go to its website, you'll see what this organization is about. We make sure people get the best from their broadband, home phone, and mobile services, as well as keeping an eye on TV and radio, the Ofcom site explains rather clinically, and that viewers and listeners are protected from harmful or offensive material on TV, radio, and on demand. Is that reassuring or chilling? We once hoped to visit London during Christmas to attend Boxing Day matches and have a proper English Christmas dinner at Simpson's in the Strand. But England will have to wait. It's the only prudent thing to do. What I love so much about it is like how he is intentionally robbing himself of something that could be pleasurable or enjoyable in the not too many moments he has left in his life. It's like visiting England with his wife or something. And he's like, nope, I won't be doing that. I'll be getting drunk and watching Bosch because that's the only thing safe for me to do anymore.
Yeah, if there's like a Bosch Black Lives Matter episode, does he just kill himself? No, he probably just... This is one of those guys who just likes feeling bad. He'll probably get like 7 columns out of that.
Well, there we go. It's the bloody royal family. They're at it again, and you know, it's my fervent hope that they will implode finally under the weight of their own incest, atrocity, and racism. JohnKassNews.com. That's your one-stop shop for all things Kass related.
Yeah,
and I just like
if you want to cut through the shit. And you really want to read what it's like to have a wordless attend a preseason like Bears exhibition game where it's raining sideways and it's windy and you and your large son don't say a word to each other, and you think about these like some disgusting like raspberry and cream dessert you used to eat, but you can't eat it anymore because your bladder is too big. Your doctor told you can't do it. And you realize you have a UTI at the urine trough. This is where you go.
I just want to point out about John Kass News. When you go to the homepage, there's a header that's just like it's a great photo of John, and he's right in the middle of the header, but standing in front of the word home. So it just looks like it says home John Kass, but he's standing in front of the word home. So the header just looks like homo John Kass with a giant photo of him just in the middle of it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like someone got one over on old John with that one.
Well,
I kind of feel like a nephew got contacted and was like, "You need to help me design a website," and he did that. It escaped poor John's meter.
Well, I got a double shot of John Kass columns for you, and they basically both deal with the same subject. I mean, not really like only vaguely political. We're not really interested in that. We just want them like the basically a daily diary of like one of the most of just one of the greatest dads of all time. So this is I would like to point out the first one I'm going to read here is. This is John Kass's second to last column for the Chicago Tribune before he took the buyout. It says here, this is column, Mr. Unsolicited, advice man's wife saves him from perfect stranger. It's such a weird headline. Mr. in parentheses, unsolicited, advice man's wife saves him from perfect strangers.
He's one of the last living artists because his understanding of like where words should go in sentences and like a natural rhythm or cadence, like it just completely, he doesn't give a shit. And he ends up writing these like perfectly clunky pieces of shit.
Well, here we go. He says here, I've finally become one of those annoying guys at the hardware store giving unsolicited advice to perfect strangers. Oh, he finally reached his final form. Yeah.
Also, he's describing cruising.
Yeah.
I've finally become one of those annoying guys at a public park.
But happily, I have a beautiful and loving life coach to save me from social embarrassment. That's why my feet hurt so much. Like, what?
What's up?
I don't get it. I don't get how one follows the other. So it goes, I love it. He calls his wife his beautiful and loving life coach.
That's a lot of psychology. That's like, okay. What's going on here?
So what does he talk to strangers about at Home Depot? So he says, sometimes I select random strangers and proselytize about soccer, the beautiful game. Or the fascinatingly grim TV reality show Alone, in which the isolated contestants risk their lives and go insane trying to win $500,000. Wait, okay.
Oh my God.
I love that John Kass's favorite TV show is called Alone, and it's about people being driven crazy for money.
I don't even feel like that's like accessible to most people. Like all his TV shows are like on Live Leak. Yeah, I watched this great show where Brazilian soccer teams, their planes crash and they have to eat each other. And you never expect who the strongest one's going to be. It's awesome.
He goes, yes, it's quite odd, but then it's all odd, like every darn thing in my life lately. If you haven't noticed, newspaper people are under stress too. A week later, he took a buyout, by the way.
Yeah.
But he goes, you can't keep going up to people and giving soccer and TV advice, says my stunningly beautiful and loving life coach. Life isn't a newspaper column. It's life.
Fucking you said it. You said it.
He's like it's the long suffering life coach, my long suffering the old ball and chain who gives me advice and keeps me from annoying strangers. She's at it again. She said, you can't just talk to random people about soccer and the reality TV show Alone. She goes, oh, really? A newspaper column isn't life? We paid off our mortgage and now you tell me? My wife, a.k.a. life coach, is the reason my feet hurt. This is the fourth time he's referred to his beautiful and stunning life coach, but he's letting you in on the joke now. I'm actually talking about my wife in case you hadn't picked that up already.
The thing I love about Kass columns is like how he often repeats like a repetitive phrase or concept, and like he probably thinks it's like some type of like funny symmetry, but actually it just sounds like a man going insane, like having a breakdown. Like it's very Lovecraft.
Yeah, no, like it's like what being alone does to you. Being alone in your house
alone.
watching soccer, just mouth watering for bratwurst that you can't eat anymore because your colon will explode if you have another piece of processed meat. And then just like no one wants to watch soccer with you. Your life coach is just when your life coach makes your feet hurt. You got problems. You've got problems. So yeah, but like. It's like, and like you said, his phrase about calling his wife his life coach is like not difficult to figure out at all. It's not like a clever thing you have to think about for half a second. He says it 3 times and then explains the joke to you. Brilliant writing. Brilliant.
He's a master. He's a fucking master.
So he goes, my wife, aka life coach, is the reason.
Okay, we get it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you're driving me crazy, John.
She is the reason my feet hurt. She steps on them discreetly, smiling pleasantly as she grinds my bunions to a pulp to stop me from giving advice.
Man, is this where everybody whose job it is to give their opinions on shit going to end up? Are we all going to end up doing that? I'm terrified.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, we're going to get married to each other. We're all
Yeah.
going to be John Kass and his wife.
I like that his wife is doing cruising stuff to him to get him to shut the fuck up about alone.
She's wide stancing next to the wrenches.
She keeps just smashing her heel into my toes under a bathroom stall to get me to stop talking to nobody while I take a shit in a public restroom about the beautiful game of soccer. Advice to
Siri, play Kanye West, Good Life.
Advice to random strangers on how they must embrace soccer, the greatest sport in the world, especially after our courageous U.S. men's national team defeated the hated rivals Mexico 3-2 with more drama, passion, and nostril flaring than any of the best Mexican soap operas.
Does he watch a lot of those? I don't know.
He goes, and that Alone show on the History Channel. Alone involves reclusive survivalists with hatchets in the woods trying to outlast the others. Lonely day after lonely day, worried about bears and having to kill or eat or fail and starve. I can't, the fact that he's obsessed with this reality show that is basically just a televised version of how he feels every second of the day, not his actual life, but his psychological inner life is, I think, why he is so attracted to the show Alone. Because it's like, what is he doing all day? He's lonely and miserable and worried about eating and not being allowed to eat by his life coach.
Yeah, there's a Harridan who tells you that you can't have 3 p.m. sausage.
They talk to themselves in their crude shelters in the woods. That sounds like the social media function of JohnKassNews.com.
This is like a message in a bottle just sent out.
Yeah,
on a pond.
This totally
It's not getting
predicts
to anyone.
JohnKassNews.com. Sometimes they laugh and weep in the same breath, with only a few empty-headed jays to hear their tales of woe. I mean, again, he paints such a picture. It's just a psychological landscape that he's describing and that he inhabits is so absolutely bleak.
He's like a type of artist that like we love, right? Where it's like someone who's a brilliant artist, but not like in the thing they were intending to be. Like Cass like thinks he's like a sort of like Royko-esque, like everyman who has a cool appraisal of what the world's like and is like a little bit cynical, but he truly wants what's best, and he has a very idiosyncratic way of funnily describing the world. But in reality, what this is and like why it's so great is because it's like he's accidentally telling you like how lonely and miserable and scared he is all the time.
Yes.
He's like too shitty of a writer. Like if he meant to do that, he wouldn't be able to. But just like by letting himself flow, you're like, oh, I completely see what he sees when he closes his eyes.
He goes, with only a few empty-headed jays to hear their tales of woe. I love that show. It's so real. Even the crying. Like This Is Us in the wilderness. There you go, Felix. This is
my God.
This is written purely for you.
He's an This Is Us watcher?
He is in This Is
I would
Us
have
head.
never guessed.
He's an us
I would
head.
have never guessed.
He goes, don't tell parents that their kids need to play soccer and develop their left foot, she whispers sweetly, grinding my tarsals to dust. Okay, honey. And don't talk about alone with the hatchets, she says, grinding my metatarsals to a pulp. He used this. He just replaced tarsals to metatarsals and used the dust and pulp. I mean, this guy gets it. Just he will recycle every phrase.
You know,
in the most,
it's rhyming. It's sort of it's a literary technique.
yes, repetition. She goes here. She. You might as well tell them it puts the lotion on its skin. It's scary. Stop. I just the idea of like it's okay. It's a nearly desolate Home Depot. You're going in there to get some like some like wall anchors or like I don't know like 30 packs of garbage bags or something like that. You're wandering the huge brightly lit aisles and it's just sort of wondering, can I be helped? Is there anyone here? Then out of nowhere, John Kass approaches you alone, brandishing a nail gun. And he starts going, you heard about the show with the hatchets where people cry in the wilderness?
It's the Simpsons thing where like Homer keeps coming into Bart's room with a knife and a chainsaw.
Yeah.
You see my new chainsaw?
Bart, you want to see my new chainsaw and hockey mask? Oh, sorry.
He goes here, she probably won't talk to me for a day or so after I quote her accurately with the it puts its lotion on the skin business, but she'll come around. She loves me. Though I work for a newspaper undergoing changes, the changes that don't include me, I really don't need a psychiatrist. I have a podiatrist, Dr. Mike Burns, the podiatrist to the stars. And after I type this one out, I'll call for an emergency appointment. I just love that he's name-checking his podiatrist that he has on speed dial. He's in and out of the office every week getting bunions sanded off his feet.
Oh, my God. A guy who's putting on a welding mask to saw down the sausage skin that's piled up on his fucking big toe.
He's like,
Christ.
He's like, my wife won't talk to me for a day or two after I embarrass her at the Home Depot, but my podiatrist is always there when I need a friend because I always have feet problems to talk to him about.
Beautiful.
My life coach may have dominion when we're out running errands.
What the fuck are you talking about?
My life coach may have dominion when we're out running errands, but now I'm writing my column and my feet are safely under my desk with Zeus the Wonder Dog where he and they belong. I can't very well talk about politics with strangers. They might take offense. If they ask me, say, about former Chicago Alderman Danny Solis on that wire for the feds, I just nod and say, let's see what happens. But I can't discuss with them Danny's penchant for massage parlors. I'll save that for another column. Are you familiar with Danny Solis and the story he's talking about, Felix, or is this just Chicago stuff?
This is Chicago stuff. Just sight unseen, I'm going to say this guy didn't do anything bad.
Okay. And I refuse to discuss recipes in person. Some people still want to talk to me about grilling beer can chicken. It's okay. I still do the chicken that way on rare occasions. But as my progressive friends say, I've evolved. I'm beyond sticking a beer can up a chicken's behind. Now I'm an Italian chicken under the bricks man. And if you want the recipe, you'll have to find it on the Chicago Way podcast. Talking sports is safe. Talking TV is safe. There was a lot of talking in that U.S.-Mexico game played in Denver. The fans of the Mexican national team, El Tri, talked and threw bottles at the American players, and some offered slurs about the goalkeeper's sexuality. But when things were going their way and Mexico was winning, they shouted, "Ole, ole," as is their wont. It was getting tiresome. Later in the game, when the U.S. Shut the fuck up! This is so boring. This is so boring. He's doing it. He can't do it to people in the Home Depot, so he's just doing it to his readers. I'm fucking losing my mind. Where's his life coach? Shut the fuck up about this U.S.-Mexico game, dude. I don't give a shit. Even if you care about soccer, the Euro Cup is going on. That's real fucking football, not this bullshit exhibition match. Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. I rarely bump into these things, but this is like the brain-firing ramblings of a dying man.
No, yeah, that's what he's been doing for like 30 years. And like, this is amazing because it's like you have this thing that you like voluntarily pick to read always with Cass, at least with like us. And you're like excited to read it because he's so loathsome. But it's like his prose is such that like you feel like you're being assaulted. You feel like you're being cornered with him, like he's sticking a fucking 38 in your gut and telling you this.
It's like being held up by an advice column.
Yeah. It's insane. It's insane. Like he's an artist. He's an artist. Like if he intended for people to like feel this way, I would be like, yeah, he deserves like not a Pulitzer, he just deserves the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, it's the literary equivalent of Andy Warhol's Empire.
Yeah.
Just 23 hours of the front of the Empire State Building, and you just keep reading it.
Incredible.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep reading. And what can I tell you about Alone? Watch it. It's much more soothing than being barked at by political dogs on TV. And you can have snacks while they starve. Contestants in this season are dropped into the wilderness of the Grizzly Mountain in northern Canada and can bring only 10 items with them. They must build shelters. They are given bear spray, but no guns. They see bears, wolves, mountain lions. If they can't catch or forage food, they go hungry. Many suffer what's called drop shock when they realize just how alone they are. Then the talking begins. The ones who talk the most are usually the first to tap out. Aristotle once said that the only creatures who should live alone are the gods and animals. But he didn't have the hardware store or cable. That's John Kass, everybody.
There's a lot there. I want to point out, you can eat snacks while they starve.
That is that is such a good fucking piece of writing. God damn it. Let's go now to John Kass post leaving the Chicago Tribune. This is his Father's Day piece that's up on johnkassnews.com. So this is Kass unfiltered. This is
yes.
I mean, can you the article I just read presumably was edited at the Chicago Tribune. Presumably he has an editor who saw that column and was like, yeah, whatever, you're going to be fired. You're going to be bought out in a week anyway. Just put that out there. But now this is Kass purely unfiltered. This is up on johnkassnews.com. What do we teach our children on Father's Day? So like this is another really big topic for John is the role of the dad in today's life. And by that he means what is there for me to do? Why doesn't anyone like me or talk to me? Okay. Happy Father's Day, my friends. I'm still getting used to johnkassnews.com, learning how to use this platform. It is very much like moving into a new home. Where's the kitchen? The Chicago Way podcast will be up today. Jeff Carlin turned the tables and interviewed me about all that happened at the Tribune, about my last column and how things began. Media friends are inviting me on their shows to talk about it, from Tom Bevan to Dan Proft and Tom Serafin's Crisis Cast and many others. Let's see what happened.
Watch out. I think you dropped a bunch of big names there, John.
Tom Bevan, Dan Proft, and Tom Serafin's Crisis Cast. Let's see what happens. You're killing it with all your subscriptions to my new adventure. I'm overwhelmed by the many thousands who have already subscribed to johnkassnews.com via email. There's always room for more. But here we are on Father's Day, and when I'm writing on a Sunday, I usually don't write a column about leaving my job. I write a Father's Day column. So here's a new one for johnkassnews.com. Okay, this is the subhead to his Father's Day column. The burning of the cargo shorts on Father's Day. There is a Father's Day photo of my sons and me at the beach, looking out at the horizon. My goddaughter Leah took the photo. That memory is one of the great treasures of my life. Was it taken on Father's Day or after? I don't recall, but I do think it speaks to everything about being a father with the children looking out into the future. What do we teach them? What tools do we give them to survive in the world, spiritually and physically? I think one of the most important is confidence. The confidence to try new things. The confidence to clearly assess a situation and change course without regrets and never bend the knee. The confidence to see the limitations ahead, yes, and the dangers. But life is about risk, and there are possibilities out there. In a way, this is why I made the move. That is why I'm doing all this, to show them what can be done. This is why he started johnkassnews.com, was to show his children that in life, you got to grab the bull by the horns and go for it.
I really like, again, going to pick one thing out, like not ever bending the knee. It's like, yeah, John Kass writes things for people who won't and physically can't bend their knees.
Never bending the knee is advice his podiatrist gave him.
I want an interview with his podiatrist, the guy he calls like 5 times a day.
So you start up this column with just sort of a philosophical musing, about being a dad and about raising children and what we impart to them, and in an uncertain world, how we can still support them and what that means. So let's see if he keeps it up. There's another reason I posted the photo. The shorts and regrets about the shorts. If you're a dad, then today is Father's Day, which means the dad is to be presented with gifts as part of the ritual celebration of love. Unfortunately, there is a horrid ritual, too, for many. The meek acceptance of the bleeping casual shorts, the way the father may wear when going outside in public, because the family hates his cargo shorts. She hates them. The boys hate them. They're so old. And it seems he must rid himself of the cargo shorts, perhaps burn them in a ceremonial fire in the backyard, and accept the new bleeping casual shorts. They're slimming, she'll say. They look better than the old cargo shorts, the boys will say. They make you look younger, they all say. They'll be taken aback by his scowl, as if he'd give two figs about looking younger. So he made it about 3 or 4 sentences to do like a sincere Father's Day column about what it means to love your children and watch them grow up and things like that. And now he's just on to bitching about his family not liking the shorts he wears.
Yeah, he is the world's prisoner.
He doesn't. He's old now. He likes being his age. He'll never again have a 32-inch waist. He'll never again go 3 rounds. He's dealing with it. He likes it that way. Today, he's about as old as the terribly old ones in the bad post-apocalyptic sci-fi novels he read as a boy. So, wow, John Kass is an H.P. Lovecraft fan.
Yeah, no.
Just, wow. He's like an H.P. Lovecraft protagonist, kind of.
H.P. Lovecraft was like a little too liberal on race for John. A little too much of a bleeding heart.
So the post-apocalyptic sci-fi novels he'd read as a boy, when he dreamed of himself as terribly old, but not that old, perhaps only 35, with slightly graying temples, smoking a pipe while cheerily leading a band of nomads trying to rebuild Western civilization with rude tools. In those boy dreams of the apocalyptic future, there was a telepathic pet saber-toothed tiger speaking mind thoughts in an English accent. Okay, this column has completely gone off the rails. I need to read that sentence again. This started out as a Father's Day column. In those boy dreams of the apocalyptic future, there was a telepathic pet saber-toothed tiger speaking mind thoughts in an English accent. The twin phrases here, boy dreams and mind thoughts, again, like I would give anything if I could come up with that, like intending to. If I could creatively will into writing boy dreams and mind thoughts, some people.
That's my favorite Roy Orbison song if they ever played a David Lynch movie. Boy dreams and mind thoughts.
Boy dreams.
Dean
sounds
Stockwell
like
is lip syncing this song right now.
Boy dreams sounds like what would replace the British pound if like you wrote a sci-fi novel where every the England was ruled by 1 million clones of Jimmy Savile. That will be the 1 million boy dreams to get into the Peter Pan room.
But this is Mr. Home Depot is talking about he spent his childhood enmeshed in a vivid fantasy world in which a telepathic saber-toothed tiger spoke to him in an English accent. Again, I wish I could think of I wish I could think of something like this. Ugh. The tiger helped him keep order among the illiterate nomads. He started talking about how much he loves his sons, and he is deep in he's in fucking he's in his mind palace right now. This is fucking goddamn. He's a god tier op-ed columnist. Nobody is as good as this. Oh, god damn it.
And I really had to get older to appreciate John Kass because, like, as a kid, it was just like, oh, he's just like a racist, like, blowhard. And, like yeah, sure, he is.
Certainly
absolutely.
is that.
He's definitely those things. But then, like, it's only when you get older that you can, like, find the deep human misery and, like, eternal horror in these columns. I'm sad, like, wondering what I meant. Like, there's probably a John Kass column I read in, like, 2005 that was, like, you know, probably about, like, why Sean Bell deserved it or something. But it, like, there was probably something so sad and horrifying in there that I just wasn't, like, old enough to really get.
Okay, so the tiger helped him keep order among the illiterate nomads. If that was just a random sentence plucked from a story, I would be like, I need to read this. This is fascinating.
This is probably the best story of all time. And it is.
It
is.
I think like he views himself as like rebuilding Western civilization, but not in a post-apocalyptic world, like in Chicago. And he has his mind tiger to keep him company when he's stalking the aisles of Home Depot, looking at illiterate nomads who stare blankly at him when he starts describing TV shows he watched last night.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm trying to share my mind thoughts with them, but they
get me into the boy chamber.
but that's a sci-fi column. Sorry, this is a column about Father's Day and giving up the comfortable shorts for the slim shorts.
This is a sci-fi column.
I can't even read this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh
This
my
is a sci-fi column I was writing in the middle of my Father's Day column, which is the column, not a column about Father's Day, but a column about the cargo shorts I had to give up for slim shorts, which my parents, which my life coach and sons made me burn.
I just like going back to this shorts thing. Like he's so far away with it. He's gone down his own like tunnel of misery, and it's like you forget the way this column began is like the way that these columns all begin, where you think it's just like sort of bullshit, like slice of life writing with just like the world's shittiest repeated jokes.
Yeah. It goes here. I had to do it last year, said a friend of mine. Gave up the cargo shorts. The family wanted it that way. Did you burn them in the ceremonial fire? No, he said. I just put the new ones on. The old ones disappeared somewhere. This is Lovecraft. This is, oh my God. Burning them in the ceremonial fire. It's like Dark Souls, Felix. You should relate to this.
Yeah, no, John Kass is hollowed.
Yes, he is. He thought Sunday would be easy. Just take the gifts, pretend they were exactly what he wanted, grill some steaks, in parentheses, blue cheese butter, and salmon, in parentheses, lemon herb butter, then sit down to watch sports on TV.
Oh my God.
I just want the blue cheese butter. I want to watch sports with the psychic tiger that communicates mind thoughts to me, and I want all the old ones to disappear. Later,
yeah.
I mean, like, and now we're getting into another major Cass obsession, which is not being able to eat things like blue cheese butter. He says later, perhaps a fine Maduro cigar. Perhaps he'll sneak a slice of banana cream pie. She denies him pie these days, but his intelligence network has informed him that pie will indeed be offered. She denies him pie these days. Again, another sentence that's like it's like a diamond bullet fired into my forehead.
She denies him pie these days.
She denies him pie these days. I mean, it's just like
it's like something Horatio Higgins says to Eliza Doolittle.
It's
to get her to speak English better.
But like it's so imbued with layers of meaning and consequence.
Yeah, it's
here.
like it's like if like a fucking Cormac McCarthy book just took place in a guy's like basement man cave.
Yes.
Like they didn't go anywhere, but it still has the same like haunting prose.
See the John. He is large. He wants the butter for his pies.
She denies him pies these days.
Oh my God. Like
She is dancing. She is dancing. She denies him pies these days.
Please, please, me and my son just want to make it to the hot dog cart one day.
Sometimes the lamb goes to Home Depot. Sometimes they cry. Sometimes the wolf comes.
I know this isn't very likely, like given his habits. I hope he lives like another 30 years and writes for all of them.
Oh, come on. Of course he's going to live another 30 years. He's another Trump guy. Like, it's just none of these guys like
live forever.
There is no artery blockage like too great for them to not power through.
But it's just like every article has a new health problem. Like ones that I like now, a frequent Cass reader, ones that I didn't even know he had. It's like it's like Dragon Ball Z. You need like a previously on because it'll be like as you guys know, I have the condition known as like pate skull.
He has the Monty Burns syndrome though. All of the diseases cancel each other out. He'll live forever.
That's true. What an art! Like,
what an artist.
Okay, like, deserve's got nothing to do with it. He's not like he doesn't like deserve like a 6-figure income from people subscribing to johnkass.com as like a person. Like he seems like an awful guy, always has. As an artist, though, absolutely.
You can separate
As an artist,
the man
he
from
deserves
the art.
millions of dollars. Yes.
Continuing, if he abandons all dignity and whines in the manner of Zeus the Wonder Dog, the notorious mind-bending German short-hair pointer whine that can break the will of the most hardened terrorist, maybe, just maybe, he'll be given a tiny slice. Okay, I gotta play back the way he describes his dog. The notorious mind-bending German short-hair pointer whine that can break the will of the most hardened terrorist.
That's, like, what is his will being broken over? Like, what's the dog?
Yeah, what does the
commanding?
dog want from him? Does he want him to take a 44 out to Lover's Lane and start shooting people?
He wants him to die. He wants John Kass to let him die.
Yeah, it's very gothic. I realize that she denies and buys these days what it really reminded me of. It's like a Nick Cave lyric about a song where a farmer kills his wife with an axe. She denies him pies these days.
He's, God damn it, he's so good.
It's a song called Fat Right Hand. So he goes,
Bright red ham.
Or he might just bluster his way to pie because you never know if he'll be dead tomorrow in a random robbery, and they will all feel terribly guilty forever because they left him pieless on the one day he was to be indulged. So now his fantasy is he'll get pie, or he won't get pie, and he'll be killed in a robbery tomorrow.
And then he gets to watch his body from heaven, and then watch his family cry and think and scream about how they wish they'd given him pie when they had a chance.
His wife is just there weeping. I should never have denied him pie. He was killed by one of Chicago's many dangerous thugs that Mayor Lori Lightfoot has let rampage loose over the city.
She's like Oscar Schindler. This could have been some Hostess treats that I could have given John. This could have been a rack of ribs that I let him have at Thanksgiving.
He's arguing with his wife, and then they just hear a knock at the door, and it's like, "Hello, we're Black Lives Matter. We're gonna execute your husband for being white." And he's like, "Oh, should have let me have the dessert, you dumb bitch."
And what I love about this is that he has like the classic, sort of opinion op-ed columnist kind of self-deprecating charm where he's always cutting himself down to size and sort of a little bemused by the nature of his job in general. But like his attempt to do like a sort of a funny self-deprecating joke at his expense. Think about the scene in which he renders. It's him being murdered and his family being bereft because they didn't give him the treats he wanted.
Yeah. He's trying to do that like, oh yeah, don't you hate like these little peculiarities of family life, but don't you also love them? But his like relatable things are like, yeah, you know, everyone's on Father's Day when you fantasize about your own death. It's just like a vehicle for your own resentments against your family.
Also, I love the idea that he says like Father's Day is the one day of the year in which I am allowed to be indulged. Like his life coach and sons are indulging him every second of the fucking day. I just love it. Like, I love it. Yeah, his attitude. It's I only get one day a year where I get to be a fucking asshole and eat all the food I want.
Yeah. Like, he's like a big fat racist Chicago guy, and his only job, his entire like adult life, has just been to write a column where he's like, "You'll never guess what the black guys are up to. Dude, there's just not enough respect in sports. The portion sizes at Wrigley Field aren't big enough." Like, that's all he's like written for the past like 40 years. Like, how could his life be any better for a guy like him? It couldn't be.
And that shows the tragedy of our social order. Is that it's designed to give people everything they want, which guarantees that they'll only ever be miserable.
Yeah.
Like he's never been happy for a minute, even though he has gotten one of the most blessed lives in human history. Like in the top fraction of a % of human experiences, considering what life has been like for people throughout most of history, just like it is objective a question of like comfort and safety and pleasure and avoidance of pain. Top fraction of a percent, miserable.
Not it, like the top fraction of percent in like the time and country he lived in for the his specific demographic, but also like everything after that, everything that made up the individual components of his life was like perfect for him. Like, oh, you're like a big gluttonous asshole. Okay, you can live in a city where there's gravy and everything. Okay, fine. Like, oh, you're like a reactionary fucking psycho racist asshole. Okay, here's a column where you could just say like blood and soil shit for 40 years and like make a pretty good living doing it. And he's still like, I put on the cross every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So going on now, he says, now, can we get back to why the cargo shorts must burn? Those slimming shorts are wretched torture devices with small, worthless pockets. Again, he's done it again. Small, worthless pockets is so fucking poetic.
That's my favorite Fiona album. Small worthless pockets. It's great.
They're wretched torture devices with small, worthless pockets. And you know Kass is one of those fucking men with a wallet that is so fucking thick with like every coupon and discount, every 10th sandwich free card. He's got a stack of them about as thick as a fucking Bible, fucking swelling his wallet to a gargantuan size that even in fucking even if he was wearing a fucking like a kilt or something, it would probably look odd bulging out the
Every
side
time he sits down, he just cants to the left like 35 degrees.
Yeah. He goes here, he can't put tomato... He goes, okay, there's this problem with the slimming shorts. He can't put tomato tape for tying tomato vines to stakes in those pockets, along with a thick roll of garden jute, car keys, and a phone. He's walking around of a day with tomato tape, garden jute, and a phone, and it's sticking out of his fucking pants. A thick roll of garden jute. Incredible. Incredible. He can't put pruning clippers in the other pocket, with perhaps a notepad to capture an almost forgotten memory of post-apocalyptic and sarcastic saber-toothed tiger with the telepathic voice of British actor Sean Bean.
Wait. So hold up.
I'm gonna read it again. I'm actually gonna read like all of it again. He can't put tomato tape for tying tomato vines to stakes in those pockets, along with
he thrusts his fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghosts.
Along with a thick roll of garden jute, car keys, and a phone. He can't put pruning clippers in the other pocket, with perhaps a notepad to capture an almost forgotten memory of post-apocalyptic and sarcastic saber-toothed tiger with the telepathic voice of British actor Sean Bean. I don't even have anything to say. I just gaze in
Those
in
are
awe.
Dutch Schultz's last words, I think. What the fuck?
That is... Was anyone editing him? Towards the end of this? Like, what?
No. Well, now this is him completely unedited. This is just JohnCastNews.com. Zeus the Wonder Dog is his fucking editor. I'm just like, the telepathic tiger with the voice of British actor Sean Bean. One does not simply eat banana pie on Father's Day.
Like, what would he even need to, like, record his psychotic, like, hallucinations? Like, is he going to write a sci-fi novel?
He should.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he should, yeah.
All right.
If he wrote a sci-fi novel, it would bring back, like, it would create a new golden age.
All right.
Here's a Heinlein for our time, I think.
Yes.
Here's the home stretch. This is the wrap up. He will have his piece of banana cream pie. He will light his fine Maduro cigar. He will bask in the love of his sons and wife. But he will not.
That's the other thing that he can't do. It's like, oh yeah, they don't let me eat pie. I can't smoke a cigar. They don't love me. They're all like in the same category.
He will bask in the love of his sons and wife. But he will not give up his cargo shorts. He's the dad, all right. And being a dad means you're allowed to have one pair of comfortable shorts in your life. Happy Father's Day.
I mean, his entire life has been a pair of
Yeah,
comfortable shorts.
he's been swaddled in a fucking cargo short his entire life, just suspended between two oak trees in his backyard, just eating the world's longest kielbasa, and just writing about what he saw at he saw like the hip hop style thugs he saw at the fucking park.
Yeah, this is like, I like now when I subscribe to JohnKass.com, I'm not going to feel bad because it's like, yeah, he is awful, but I honestly feel like he's probably like dissuaded more people from racism and conservatism than like he's brought over.
He is a cautionary tale.
You know?
Like,
Yeah.
there is no fulfillment here. You know,
No,
there's
no
nothing here.
pleasure.
There's no
There is
pleasure. There's nothing. There's just as bad as you feel now, only worse.
Yeah, it's like there's no happiness or
Yeah.
love or light in his life, and it's like, if you like, yeah, if someone was like bigoted or something, and it's like you see this guy who's like, yeah, lived his entire life in a manger, just the easiest existence possible, and he's like, Taste of Chicago was ruined because I saw a lot of backwards baseball caps. There was a rap element there. There were a lot of rapper types there. It's like, oh, this isn't like cool to do. This guy sucks.
All I'll do is
I'm gonna get rid of my bigotries.
I'll sum it up. No love, no respect, no future. But what you do have is an imaginary post-apocalyptic telepathic saber-toothed tiger that transmits mind thoughts directly into your brain in the voice of TV and movie actor Sean Bean. I don't know anything.
Thoughts.
I don't, and boy dreams as well. I don't have anything else to say. That was possibly the finest double shot of reading I've ever done on this show.
I think that's the best op-ed I've ever heard. Like ever. That's the best. Like we've like denigrated op-eds a lot, and for the most part they suck. There's no reason for them to be written, but like that is the only one where it like crosses over into art.
It's small,
Like, yeah.
worthless pockets.
Small
It's just-
worthless
he's a
pockets.
genius.
It's just
The
it's
John
so,
Kass story.
the
Let's
melancholy
make a
of
movie
that.
about him called Small Worthless Pockets.
It's beautiful.
Haunting.
I'm so it's haunt. Yes, I'm haunted. This is haunting. And this
I got
I got nothing else to say on this episode, fellas.